But a few years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I remember the day I lost my hair. It really did come out almost all at once in the shower. It was really startling. And I had just had the double mastectomy. I step out of the shower and I cannot recognize myself. I think I just started to cry, and my husband could hear me, and he's running to the door. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then once he got close to the door, I panicked and I locked the door because I just wasn't ready for him to see me like this. Yeah. He was unrelenting. There was this moment, Julie, of I'm gonna just go in here. And I opened the door and I kind of fell to the floor. You know, he just got right down on the floor and he just kind of put his arms around me and he just kept whispering in my ear, "You are so beautiful. All I could see is your strength."
This is Inside-Out Dermatology with Dr. Julie Kenner, where we explore science, skin, and well-being. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Inside-Out Dermatology, a podcast where we explore our external skin through the lens of looking at our internal self and explore the connections between beauty and emotions and health and all of our other organ systems. Today we are blessed to have a wonderful guest with us, Marilyn Getas Byrne, and she is here to tell us an amazing story about her own experience, but she also has her own podcast, which I was telling her just before the show is a perfect match for SkinHappy, our company, our dermatology company that has created Inside-Out Dermatology, and it is called I Choose Happy. So Marilyn, welcome, and tell us a little bit about your podcast and about what made you create that.
Oh, Julie, thank you so much for having me on. It really is a pleasure and an honor. I have, first of all, heard so many wonderful things about you, and I'm delighted to finally sit here and see you face to face. So thank you for having me here. I Choose Happy with Marilyn. It's presented by the Comfy. The Comfy is the wearable blanket that makes life happier. The founder and the creator of the Comfy is a man named Brian Special, and he and his brother Michael created the Comfy years ago, brought a prototype onto the Shark Tank, and just did very well. And they shot off, and I think it's one of Shark Tank's biggest sensations.
Wow.
So Brian and I were colleagues way back in our news days. I was a news anchor for a little under 20 years and worked in that news business for your high stress, high adrenaline, probably not great on the skin under heavy lights, a lot of makeup. I always think about, what my skin was going through at that time. But Brian and I worked together and we were just wonderful colleagues. We just have mutual respect. And when I was really starting to do more in the cancer world and kind of put myself out there as an advocate and a navigator for newly diagnosed cancer patients, I was doing more things online. And he happened to see one of the reels that I put together, and he just wrote me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm starting to kind of get out there again, more visually, to try to reach more cancer patients who might need some support." And he said, "I have an idea." And he said, "But I'm not ready to share it yet. Let's just sit on it for a little bit." So he really teased me. And a couple months later, we, talked, and he said, "I think you need a podcast, and I would love to help support that." And he said, "If you could do a podcast, what would you do it on?" And I said, "I've thought about this for years, and I would love to talk about overcoming, because everybody's overcoming something, and we overcome many things in a lifetime, and doesn't end with one big moment in life. We're constantly meeting life with whatever comes." And so anyway, he said, "Gosh, that's funny." He said, "I've been thinking the same thing. And I've been thinking about a podcast that would be about overcoming what life throws our way." And so we had the same idea, never talked about it. And then at this moment, we're both realizing it's something we wanted to bring to fruition. And so anyway,
Oh.
yeah, it's
Well,
great.
let's back up just a little bit
Yeah.
and tell the audience a little bit about your story and about you've given some hints about how stress and all of these things might have
Hmm.
impacted what happened to you.
Hmm.
But tell us a little bit about what you went through.
Absolutely. Okay, so I grew up very healthy kid, to incredibly loving, kind parents and siblings in Pacifica, California, right on the coast, just south of San Francisco. And went away to school, went to Chicago. So it was a really new experience in the Midwest. And I was a volleyball player in college. I came back to the West Coast, finished up at San Francisco State, and started a job in broadcast journalism at KPIX, which was the CBS station in San Francisco. So, and I waitressed at night and I was very busy in college. And after college, that internship at KPIX turned into a reporting job down here on the Monterey Peninsula. So it was my first moment on the air. And it was, I started off as sort of a weekend reporter, which quickly grew to a weekday reporter, which grew into becoming a weekend anchor. And then I jumped from KION and went over to KSBW, and I was a weeknight reporter and a 5 p.m. anchor at KSBW. And then I was promoted to the Baltimore, Washington market, to WBAL in Baltimore. And we moved across country, and my husband and I, did not have kids yet, but we were, talking about starting our family. And we moved to Baltimore, and we lived about 20 miles north of the city in beautiful horse country. It was just gorgeous. And I became the morning anchor there. And that was a real shift. I was getting up, my alarm went off at 2:30 in the morning every day. I'm a natural night owl, always
Mm,
have been. And suddenly my sleep schedule just flipped.
mm.
I I'm embarrassed to say this now, to be honest, because I think I was getting like 4 hours of sleep a night.
Oh.
I mean, I would try to go to bed at 7, and then I'd, be awake, and it would be 8 o'clock, and then be 9 o'clock. And then as soon as 10 o'clock hit, I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to get to
Mm,
sleep. And it was really, really challenging. And you've got to be on your game. I mean, you've got to be sharp in the morning. And I felt like my coffee intake went up. Um, I'm under those big lights, and I'm sure my skin, like I said, makeup, lights, stress,
yes, yes.
adrenaline, deadline pressure, all of it. And
Mhm,
you've got to perform, and you got to look good. You've got to
mhm,
be, and thank goodness for good lighting.
mhm,
That really helps. And I was a lot younger, and so you could kind of get by. I could get by on 4 hours of sleep. I could still do it.
mhm,
And then, had a baby in Baltimore. And now,
mhm.
I'm pregnant going to work at 2 in the morning. And I just think about some of these stresses now. And I can't even believe that was real. And I did that. And I did it for many, many years. We moved back to California, and living by the water and getting off of that morning shift instantly I felt better. I mean, just physically felt better. But a few years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm not blaming that morning shift or anything, but I do think the chronic stress, even though I loved my work, I loved my job, it really was my happy place.
Mhm,
But I do think the lack of sleep, just that adrenaline up and down,
mhm.
I'm sure taxed my body quite a bit. So
Yeah.
maybe it taxed my immune system enough where some errant cells weren't
Well,
detected, or I don't know. It's very
yeah.
hard
Well,
with cancer.
we like to talk about on this show how there's 79 organs in the body and they don't exist in isolation, right?
Hmm.
And on top of the organs, we have our emotions. And so, and then our external environment, mental inputs, and then our diet. And so all of these things it's an orchestration, right? It's an orchestra. And so in dermatology, we know extremely well how stress can bring about acne, rosacea, cold sores, shingles, et cetera,
Yeah.
psoriasis. And so we know that this has a role. We just, you can have 10 different people undergoing the same stress and only some will, show up with whatever the condition is. So, your instinct is correct. And I know a lot of people inherently know that, but
Yeah.
it's just a mystery as to why would you get breast cancer? Why not,
Yeah. Right.
a different kind of cancer? Why, why not all the other anchors out there
Exactly.
that have a morning shift and are night owls? And
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
No, and I've thought about that. And, my oncologist said, you could look at this a million different ways. You're never going to
yeah,
know. So you got to kind of let
yeah,
that go because that's just added anxiety,
yeah, right.
wondering why,
Or
how, what,
guilt
or
or other added
mhm.
emotions that are not helpful. Yeah.
No, exactly. And, when I think back on it, I was 40 at my
Yeah.
diagnosis and my kids were 7 and 4. And
Wow.
I went through a lot of treatment too. And you talk
Yeah.
about tough on the skin.
Oh, yeah.
Chemo is a doozer,
Yeah.
and I did 20 rounds, starting with adriamycin and Cytoxan, all the biggies that knock your hair out after,
Hmm.
one dose, which is really
Hmm.
scary.
Yeah.
And I remember my skin, I always looked kind of red.
Hmm.
My gums were always irritated. My eyes were really dry. And
Hmm.
I think about the skin that's replenishing, I know those cells are very fast. They replenish very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think chemo, because it's hitting those kinds of cells, right?
Right. Right.
That's what I remember was that my
Yeah.
skin,
All the
gums,
gut.
eyes, yeah,
Yeah.
really felt irritated, sluggish. I
Yeah.
told someone said, "What does chemo feel like?" And I said, "It's like someone took the top of my head off and just poured a bucket of cement. I just kind of felt like everything
Yeah.
was hardening." And that's a scary thing to say. I'm not trying to frighten anybody. That I'm very descriptive and very visual.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like I was just sort of slowing down,
Yeah.
And so I know
Well,
when,
and then talk
yeah,
to me a little bit about your self-esteem too during all of this, right? And you're a mom with little
hmm
teeny kids, you're taking them to school, and so that also plays an impact on, what's going on with this because,
totally, totally.
you
Well,
know,
losing your breasts at 40 with a double
your breath
mastectomy.
and your hair.
My hair, I'm
Yeah.
bald, I'm
Yeah.
bloated. I
Yeah.
don't look anything like myself. I had
Yeah.
this career in television news, and I'm going, where
Right.
is that woman? Where'd she
Yeah.
go? I was a
Right.
college athlete. Where did that athlete
Right.
go? I just felt like I was
Right.
unrecognizable.
Right.
And I think when you have the double mastectomy, talk about tissue change. I mean, changes
Mhm.
in the skin
Mhm.
there, all
Mhm.
the recovery, the discomfort. I mean, and just aesthetically, even though my surgeons did a beautiful job, I mean, every time I took off my shirt
Yeah.
and wanted to step in the shower, I was always, it still to this day, Julie, I kind of go, oh, oh, that's not
Yeah.
what I want to see. That's not what I want to be there. But
Right.
you learn acceptance and
Yeah.
you learn to be so grateful for the life you have. The fact
Right.
that I've lived 15 years beyond these moments, these
Right.
early days after my diagnosis. I went through a lot, and I had an 18-inch blood clot from the PICC line that was throwing clots to the lungs, was infected with staph. I was so sick. I was in the hospital for 9 days, and they could only draw blood from my feet. I mean, I was really, really sick,
Oh,
and they didn't know if I was going to make it. So anything beyond that, it's
yeah.
amazing how you gain this perspective
Yeah.
through gratitude
Yeah.
that I'm here, I'm alive. I wanted to see my kids through 8th grade. They are now, my son just finished grad school, my daughter's in college. Not only
Yeah.
did I get them through 8th grade and high school, and I could be alive to see it,
Yeah.
that's such a blessing. But I do know that um, one of the things that I think that happens when you're going through treatment and you're faced with
Mhm.
a life-threatening disease, it's easy to let your self-care go a little bit. At least for
Mhm.
me, I'm not speaking for
Mhm.
everybody, but sometimes the
Mhm.
overwhelm or the exhaustion
Mhm.
or the fear
Mhm.
sometimes pulls you out of those just normal, I don't feel like washing my face tonight.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
care right now.
Yeah.
I just want to not feel nauseated from chemo,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's what I
So tell me
remember.
how you overcame this and how you came upon the refusal to go down that path of I don't want to, I'm just going to feel sorry for myself and go down a negative channel,
Mhm.
and instead looked at the positive and looked
Yeah.
at gratitude and realized that there's another, that you are not your disease, you are you.
Yeah.
And and how did you reclaim that?
Well, first of all, I think I had really good teachers growing up. My parents were very positive. They always kind of looked at the silver lining.
Mhm.
And I think they did look at adversity
Mhm.
in a way to learn,
To
that
grow.
they were
Yeah.
learning, to grow,
Mhm.
to learn and grow.
Mhm.
And so I watched them do that. So I have to
Mhm.
give them,
Yeah.
those props. And they both are gone. They were older parents.
Oh.
I
Oh.
came along late in life.
Uh-huh.
My siblings were 20, 16, and 14 when I was born.
Oh, wow.
So my parents were really like what my grandparents' age should have been.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but they had fun. They loved to have people over. They were very connected to friends and family.
Mhm.
They loved music. There was always music on in the house. There was a lightness there.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
and even when times were hard, they had some hard times.
Mhm.
I don't remember feeling a burden of that. They definitely um, they knew they could handle whatever was coming down the pike,
Mhm.
and that they were going to turn right into it, face it up. And I think also they had a great faith that there was something bigger than themselves that was holding them. They always
Mhm.
they were definitely prayerful about
Mhm.
the needs of their life, or praying for other
Mhm.
people, or the
Mhm.
kindnesses they showed to others. They were really
Mhm.
beautiful community members, and my
Oh.
siblings were the same. So I do feel like there was nothing, I didn't feel limited by anything.
Mm.
And I felt eager to try, or comfortable in in my own skin. I
Mhm.
felt comfortable in my own skin to be me. And I always I think I just kind of followed their footsteps,
Mm.
and knew this wasn't the end of the world when something comes up. That
Picked yourself up and faced your challenge and
exactly.
overcame it. Yeah.
Exactly. And my agent in the news business,
Mhm.
I was talking to him about the cancer stuff. And I said,
Mhm.
I don't know how to answer the question all the time when somebody says, um, how did you do that? And he said, you've always been like that. You've always been very optimistic. So I just want to be fair in saying that
Mhm.
I think that's part of just who I am, is I'm
Mhm.
generally a glass half full kind of person.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there were times that things were so hard and rough, and that
Yeah.
fear gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
I did use a lot of visualization. I
Mhm.
had this image of me as a 90-year-old woman in my garden with dogs and kids, grandkids around me, and hanging a hummingbird feeder. I got real, real clear on that
Yeah.
end picture that I wanted for my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And some of those darkest days, like when I was in that hospital with the blood clot,
Yeah.
I was the 90-year-old woman in the garden. And
Aw.
I gripped on to that vision, like this is going to be the truth. This is the
Yeah.
truth right now. I feel it. I'm holding that picture for myself. And I do think that's helped. The other thing is I went to Healing Touch. Healing Partners of the Central Coast was providing free sessions. They still do to cancer patients. And it's an energy work, kind of like Reiki, to move and help restore energy in the human body. It's a partnership. And Stanford always said, we don't know exactly how it works, but we know people who do it have better outcomes. And I said, sign me up. And it was so beautiful. And getting still long enough on this table in the Healing Touch room was so important week to week as I was in, going to these chemo sessions to get still enough to hear what my body needed, to listen, to tap back in. I had two young kids. I was still busy, like you said.
Yeah.
So I think doing whatever I could to nurture myself physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. What could I put in that was going to give me the best possible outcome?
Yeah. Well, that's sort of what it's all about, is
Yeah.
I mean, kind of looking at the whole picture and not
Yes.
getting caught in one, focus, like, oh, I'll never have my perfect hair again, or I'll never have this. And just really realizing that there's more, we have a lot more resilience or power or ability maybe than we sometimes know. And so sometimes the value of having a challenge like that actually is empowering, because you realize, wow, I can get through this. I'm a superwoman. I can do anything now.
Yeah, right.
So
There is some of that. And you almost forget, oh, wait a minute, we really did this. And I had incredible support. I mean, my husband, we've been married 30 years now.
Yeah.
And he was a rock through that. The kids showed up so beautifully. I mean, my son would say, Mama, I love that bald head, and give me a kiss on my head. And so I think about these moments. It's kind of interesting when you think about the skin and the hair. I remember the day I lost my hair. It really did come out almost all at once in the shower. It was really startling. And I had just had the double mastectomy.
Yeah.
So I'm healing from that. I step out of the shower and I cannot recognize myself. I mean, it was really scary. So I think I just started to cry, and my husband could hear me, and he's running to the door. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I yelled out his name, like, "Tom." And then once he got close to the door, I panicked and I locked the door because I just wasn't ready for him to see me like this.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah.
And he kept knocking, let me in. And I just kept thinking, no, I'm okay. And I was trying to make him kind of go away. And finally he didn't, he was unrelenting.
Yeah.
And there was this moment, Julie, of I'm ready. I'm going to just go in here. And I opened the door and I kind of fell to the floor, and I was crying, and he just got right down on the floor and he just kind of put his arms around me, and he just kept whispering in my ear, you are so beautiful. All I could see is your strength. All I can see is your strength. And I said to him, finally, after I'm getting myself together, I just said, thank you for saying what I needed to hear. And he said, no, thank you for showing me how. It turned into one of the most profoundly intimate and vulnerable moments I've ever shared with my husband.
Yeah.
To date. I mean, it was a really powerful moment. And I think what he helped me see was that the cosmetic part of us, it's all what's inside.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, social media misses all of this. It's only the emphasis on the outside. And so, it is, that's why we call this Inside Out. And it's really the inside that, and so we had a podcast not too long ago um, on, talking about how confidence and sort of your energetic signature, so to speak, is a huge contributor to beauty, and that's all your husband could see,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that
Mm-hmm.
was, and we forget it because we tend to be so like, oh, okay, I'm not perfect, or I don't have my hair, or I don't have
Mm-hmm.
my breasts, or and and other people that really love you don't see that. They see you as you.
Yeah.
And that's such an important message to get out there,
It
because there's a lot, especially when kids are going through acne and something so common, and they're bullied and they're this and that. They forget that there's this whole part of you that is your beauty, really.
it's so
So,
true. It's I find too, when I am really appreciating myself, and
mhm,
just really checking in and going,
mhm,
you are a good person. You are you and just sort of appreciating um the parts of me that, yes, there are things that are never going to be the same again.
mhm,
But I know what my intention is to put good into the world.
mhm,
And when I'm really in touch with that part of myself,
mhm,
in touch with gratitude, in
mhm,
touch with uh, connection, and
mhm,
and I don't know, just feeling more alive
mhm,
because I'm more aware of when I'm in nature. I'm more aware of the leaves turning on the tree, or I'm aware of
mhm.
this new flower that's blooming. When I
Yeah,
really am more present,
yeah.
I can tell a difference when I go back and look in the mirror, in my bathroom mirror.
Mhm.
There is something that's changed.
Yeah.
There's more radiance. There's more light coming through my eyes. I
Right.
feel prettier. All of
Your
those
body is
things.
producing different proteins that are contributing in different ways to the whole function of not just your skin, but probably your internal organs.
Wow.
So yeah.
And I'm
So
guessing all of those really good hormones, the serotonin
yeah,
and
the oxytocin and the
dopamine and all of it. Yeah.
yes, yeah,
But
yeah,
I can see the difference. And
yeah,
then what I notice is when I'm in touch then with that and thinking,
yeah,
oh wow, I feel really good. And I
yeah,
feel like um I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm not
yeah,
picking myself apart.
yeah,
And then I go out. It's incredible how many people reflect that back. You
yeah,
look great.
yeah,
Wow, what are you doing? And
yeah,
I'm laughing to myself because
yeah,
I know what they mean. I'm feeling good. It's from the
yeah,
inside out.
yeah, yeah,
And allowing, I do think there are plenty of times in my life where I think I've had a little wall up, a little bit of
yeah.
armor, afraid to get hurt, afraid to fall into fear, around the
Mhm,
cancer coming back,
mhm.
or, and knock on wood, I'm 15 years cancer
Yeah,
free. But if I go into that place, which I think we all visit from time to time,
yeah,
fearful places,
yeah,
the faster I can get myself back.
yeah,
I think that's the trick. It's like we
yeah,
know we go off, we come back on, we
yeah,
go,
yeah,
and it's instead of waiting,
yeah,
I start going through the little checklist of, okay, no, let's turn on the
yeah.
music here.
Well,
Let's
Marilyn,
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's just like you named your podcast. You can choose to look at something negatively, or but you can also choose to be happy. And you don't have to let your external environment dictate how you are feeling. You can just choose to be happy if
Yeah.
you would like to be happy, and then see how that then impacts everything else.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Because it's all inside of us.
yeah.
And I think so many are looking externally
Yeah.
for this validation,
Yeah.
or
Or
for
to blame X, Y,
recognition,
and Z
or to
for yeah,
blame.
yeah,
And I think when we know we can trust ourselves, we have
yeah,
so much wisdom, we have all
yeah,
this lived experience, and
yeah,
we can draw upon that and remind ourselves, oh, I've been through harder.
Yeah.
I know that fear is thinking something's coming down the road
Yeah.
that I can't handle. But I've
Yeah.
handled everything that's come my way. And
Yeah.
therefore, I have a 100% track record for overcoming because I'm here
Pretty good.
today.
Yes.
We're here today and
Yes.
we forget that. And we
Yeah.
suddenly go into this fear-based place where everything, now we're worried, we're future tripping and we're worried about what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really learned how to go back and stop and just say stop and talk to myself, Marilyn, stop it. Think about what you have and not what you don't have, or
Right.
think about what's working, what's not working. And if you practice that, and of course that's in alignment with gratitude.
Right. Right.
Something shifts.
Yeah.
It shifts and you got to give it a little time, but then it builds on itself.
Yeah.
So I do feel like there's just been so much learning, and cancer gives you a lot of opportunities to overcome and to practice this very thing, sadly. But what I want to tell people is you don't have to be sick to learn it.
Yes. Yes. And you don't have to, you don't have to have lost everything, whether it's your health, your finances, your love of your life. You don't have to lose. You can overcome. And even if you have lost all of those things, you still have yourself. So I think that is a wonderful message to leave the audience on. And if anybody in the audience has resonated with this, please consider sharing this with friends. Please go to Marilyn's podcast and see what else she has put forward with her great wisdom. And thank you so much for being with us today. It was a real honor.
Julie, I feel the same. And thank you for having me. And I look forward to another chat, and hopefully you will come join us on I Choose Happy, and we could talk about talk about all of this from your perspective.
Well, thank you.